Welcome, everyone. I'm Snigdha Satti, and I'm a senior business analyst at News UK. And today I'm going to talk about Agile within data science world and how we applied Agile in data science. Now, what is Agile? So this is the most simplistic, basic, like a very layman definition of what is agile, and there is a reason why I'm just mentioning it here. It's because agile is just a time boxed iterative approach to software delivery that builds software like incrementally. So here the main word that I want to focus is on iterative, so because data science in its nature is also iterative. So again, I'm going to explain the very basic definition of data science. Data science is nothing but it's just a model or algorithm which is derived, which basically provides meaningful information based on large amounts of complex data. So just to give you an example of a data science model or a data science algorithm is that when you go on YouTube and you watch a video, after some time you see in your recommendations, you start seeing related videos. It might be depending upon the topic, the subject that you were watching, or the people that were in the video, and you start seeing the recommendations of the like something similar to what you have already watched. And this is mainly based on a complex data. And here, when we say data, it means the subjects, themes, or actors, or I don't know, the musicians that you have watched. So it's as simple as that. While building a data science model, it, as I was saying, it is an iterative approach, and there is a lot of investigation of data, exploration of data is done, and then a model is built, and then there is a lot of testing, tuning. They look at the outcome, it's working or not. If it's not working again, it goes into the investigation, exploration, testing, and tuning phases. Now, I know it was a bit too technical, too boring, but before I go into how we applied Agile in data science, what worked, what didn't work, I want to tell you a little bit of a backstory. So this is my story. So basically, a couple of years ago, I was working within data technology at News. I'm still at News, but not in data technology. And I was working in a team called Digital Data Platforms. The main goal of this team was to ingest data from different sources. So what it meant is that, as I was saying, that News UK owns the Times and the Sun newspaper. When I say ingest data from different sources, purely meant that just the CMS data, the articles that you read, who the author is, what is the headline, what pictures were attached to that article, all that is ingested into our databases, along with information like how many comments were there, what comments were there, and things like when these articles get shared on social media, how many retweets did it get, or how many likes were there. So this is all the data that we care about, and we ingest it into the database so that this data could be used by different teams to understand the performance of the website, understand the performance of the ads that run on these sites. Similarly, this data is also used by the data science team to build data models. Now, in this team, there were data engineers, there were some QAs, a scrum master, and business analyst. This is me. And there was a separate team within data technology where we had a senior member of data, which was data director. There was a scrum master and a data scientist. They did not have anybody, they didn't have any like a BA or anyone in the team. Now, the stakeholders here were, as I said, we have the Sun editorial, Times editorial, commercial team, and analytics team who are building like reporting. Now, the issue with the data science team was that the data director was going and speaking to the stakeholders directly, and understanding what the requirements were, what were the tasks that needs to be done next, or what models were to be built next. He was so amazing at his job and he was so good with data and building models that he was actually going to the data scientists directly and was telling them what exactly needs to be done. So uh, the challenge was that they didn't have any understanding of what the goals were, or like what the organizational goals were and all that. So this is just a backstory. So I want to focus on like more challenges that the team was facing. Now, as I said, because the team were just given like the in detail tasks of what needs to be done by them, they had no idea of what organization level priorities were, what the goals were, what is the vision, what are we even achieving as an organization. They had no idea. They just knew exactly what they needed to build, and because they didn't have an awareness around the priorities, they couldn't plan any work. They didn't have like a proper backlog or prioritized backlog. The other issue that was happening was that whenever the senior member of the team was getting any request from the stakeholders, he would just go directly to the team and give out all the requests. What it meant was that the data scientists were working with too many tasks at the same time. By the way, I have to mention that this data scientist team was based in London and in Bangalore. And some of them were reluctant to say no. They were just taking on more and more and more work, because they were just too afraid to say no, not sure what the reasons were, but they were not saying no. So what happened was that it led to lack in focus. There was no focus in the team. And also because they were working on so many things, like they were unable to meet the deadlines, which meant that they were not able to meet the stakeholder expectations, and always the deadlines were missing. Overall, it was chaos, which led to a lot of demotivation, and there was no sense of achievement in the team. That's when the senior person came to me, because our team was running fine, was like, Snigdha, can you come in and can you help the team? And they were not even sure what was going on within the team. So I sat down with each and every person and tried to understand what their pain points were, and I could clearly see that there was no communication going on. There was no, like, there was literally, it was chaotic. There was no communication, there was no collaboration. Not sure what was going on. They were just picking up tasks based on in whatever order they were coming into the work stream. I could immediately tell that Agile is the way to go, because I've always believed in Agile. I've always worked in Agile since I started my career. And I knew that Agile was answer because it focuses on individuals and interactions. It encourages customer collaboration, and it is the one of the best things is that it responds quickly to change. So it will enable the team to respond quickly to changing scope or changing requirements, because that is the nature of data science. And another thing is that both Agile and data science are iterative in nature. So it's so much more easier to merge them together into one thing and make them work in the best way possible. Now, how did we do it? How did I even go into applying Agile in data science? First thing that I had to do was to get the buy in. Because for the data science team, they did not believe in Agile. They thought it was like a woo woo thing that just everybody talks about, but it doesn't really do anything, because they hadn't worked on it. It's the unknown, is the nervousness around this unknown thing. But what we did was, like, what I did was that I sat with the team. I, in fact, arranged sessions with the entire team and explain like what agile mindset means. We talked about collaboration, we talked about respect, we talked about um, talked about all aspects of agile. To be honest, I was not even sure if they bought into it. But then I just said, please give me 3 months. Let's do what I'm asking you to do and then see if it works or not, because we have nothing to lose here. And then the first thing that I did was to have a chat with the our senior member of the team and say, can you please make sure that you are not going to the team directly with your requests? We need to create a barrier there. We have to follow a process. Meanwhile, that senior person and myself, we went to stakeholders to understand the business requirements, the business priorities, what objective we are reaching by doing this piece of work, so that by doing so we were able to build a prioritized backlog, which meant that we were able to define the tasks, deliverables, and hypotheses for the team. Now, when the team actually looked at the task, they were more sure, and they knew what they had to like actually build, why they were building it, and how it fits into the bigger picture of the organizational goals. Along with that, we introduced sprints and daily stand-ups. Daily stand-ups were very, very useful because the team was not talking to each other. And as soon as we started the stand-ups, we realized that they were able to help each other out with many issues that they were facing, and many of them were facing similar issues. So at least by talking, they were able to help each other out. And the other thing that was the most, I would say, the most important thing was having sprints, because by having the sprints and planning sessions. Sorry, I meant to say not sprints, the planning sessions here. So by having a planning session, they had a set goal for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they knew exactly what to work on instead of getting bombarded by like so many other tasks from everywhere else. And it helped like wonders. It did wonders to the team because they were able to focus on the current task in hands. In fact, they came and spoke to me one to one, and they were like, we feel so much more relaxed now because we know what we are doing, why we are doing, without any interruptions. And another thing that we implemented was sprint demos. So with data science, it's not like a feature demo that you can do, and it's not like a tangible output. Data science is experiment based. So but what we used to do in the demos is to see where we are with experiment, just to understand the status, and then based on that make a decision whether we should go ahead with this experiment or not. Because sometimes previously without these demos, what was happening was that they would carry on doing it for 3 or 6 months, go into the rabbit hole, go in there, and then realize that, oh, I it's not going to work, and it was such a waste of time and effort. So now with these sprint demos, we were able to catch them beforehand, just in case if we realize that this model is not going to work. And retrospective worked so much, because again the team were talking, they were talking about the issues that they were facing. One of the things that came out was that the team in Bangalore was being messaged out of hours by stakeholders, by the senior people, asking questions, and it meant that they were working for longer hours than they should. And there was no forum for them to mention this before, and they were even a bit afraid to mention it before. But during retrospective, it created such a safe space for the team that they were able to say this, that we want to work only during our work hours. We can't just continue working at like 11 p.m. of our time. So we were able to change the ways of working accordingly. So it was very, very helpful for the team. And I have to say, they are still implementing Agile, and it's working well in that team. Now, what didn't work for data science team, because it's completely impossible to take all aspects of Agile and implement in data science team, because as I said before, it's not a feature development where you see like a button being placed or a text being changed or something else happening. It's just building of models. And it is quite difficult to estimate a model, because by the time they start building the model, they are not sure if the data is clean or not. They are not sure if they have all the different data sets available or not, and things can change while they are doing their exploration and investigation. So they can give like a rough timeline of it might take a month or two, but it's difficult to say it's 8 story points or 5 story points. So we were not able to estimate it. And it you cannot see a tangible solution. So what I mean by tangible solution is exactly the same. Like there won't be a button placed on the website. No, you can see that the model is ready, or you can see that the model has progressed to work 70% with the existing data sets. So you can see the progress, but it's not like you cannot see anything visible going on. And depending upon the things that come out of this experimentation that they do in data science, the scope and requirements can change quite drastically, quite quickly within the sprint. So we should not say that, we are already in the sprint, we are not going to change the scope, because this is something that's unacceptable in normal software delivery, but it is quite acceptable in a data science world. And also it's impossible to expect like a deliverable after each sprint, because it covers everything that I've said before. Now, my takeaway from this entire experience was that Agile worked wonderfully with data science team. It increased the productivity and motivation of the team, and it also increased the stakeholders' confidence on the team, and they knew that if the team is saying that they'll deliver something in a certain time period, the things were getting delivered. In fact, the data science team ended up winning some internal and external awards. And one of the models that was built by our team for a marketing team ended up winning like a marketing award, like a marketing award as well. So the team performed really, really well, and they continue to be performing really well. What my personal take on it is that I strongly believe that we we should use processes for our advantage instead of being process led. So what I mean by that is that there are no hard and fast rules here. There was a lot of like trial and error that took place, and I feel that we should apply whatever works for our teams, and we shouldn't let Agile stop our teams from doing any valuable work. We should take and apply what works. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
I understand that you have convinced people to do, and obviously all these processes do work when you are implementing it correctly. But just was wondering, did you face any objections while you were presenting these ideas to adopt? And if yes, how did you really tackle those, like handle those communications or convinced people to try it?
So there were no like objection as such, in the sense that nobody verbally said that, oh, we don't believe in it, but there was obviously, you could tell that overall, like as data science team, they didn't believe in Agile, as well as they didn't believe in the value of delivery. What I mean by that is that they didn't believe in value of scrum masters and business analysts. For them, all these roles are, we don't know what they do, because also because they were not working closely with anybody who was actually so they couldn't tell. So there was like we could tell that they didn't believe in it. But once, it's more like we basically like convinced them to try it out for 3 months. That was my only selling point. I was like, even if you don't do it, you're not like the team is already in chaos. So by trying something out, maybe you can get better, but you have nothing to lose. That was my only thing. And because we had a buy-in from our senior team member, by the way, he also didn't believe in Agile, but he was like, okay, let's give it a try and see. So that's how it worked. But 3 months down the line, when they realized that how everything was streamlined, And most of the work that they were doing, somebody else was doing, like the scrum master and business analyst had picked up all the all the chaotic work around them so that they were able to focus on their own work. I think they were happy about it. And they do believe in these roles now. They do.
Cool. Thanks, Snigdha.
No problem.
How long did the transformation last before everyone accepted that this is a way to continue?
So it took us 3 to 4 months.
Are all teams at News UK are agile teams?
Oh, yeah. So News UK is a very strong agile company.
So only the data science team was
Yes, only the data science team, and there is one more team which is called digital publishing, which is more into like print publishing of the newspaper.
Were there any particular reason of them not being agile in past?
Only because they didn't believe in it, and they were not working with it. They were like just data scientists working with a data director. So that's how the team was set up. So they never had to learn agile. They were not aware of agile. So it's the reluctance came from not knowing what it is. And you some of you must have faced before, where the development team sometimes might think that all the other roles, they don't know what they do and how they can add value. So because they were not aware of it, that's why they were reluctant. But once they started seeing that how we all like got together and added value to the team, they believed in it. Now it's a strong team. Now they have a business analyst, a scrum master who looks into this, make sure that they build a strong prioritized backlog. So yeah, that was the only team that was not agile.
Good, thank you. That was a quick achievement in 3 months.
Yeah, it was because they were quite initially there was reluctance, but then they bought into it because they could see that everybody was trying to help them, and especially when they saw that I was not from their team, but I got embedded into their team to help them out. And also what helped was the fact that I did a lot of one-to-one chats. So it was more like we were empathetic towards them, and we showed them that how we care for the pain points that they were facing. So that's how it was useful. And to be honest, it's not a very big team. They were like 4 data scientists in London and around 3 data scientists in Bangalore. So it's not very large team, so it's fine.
Are you finding this is something that when you talk to your peers that data science is being left behind in the agility? I just wrote to a team I work with about like asking, because I know they do daily stand-ups, but nothing else seemed agile to me. And I was just curious, but especially, and is it a risk because agile leads to transparency? Data science often is the opposite.
So that's why we picked only a few elements of agile, not everything, because we were quite clear from the start that if we ask them to do like a demo or deliver something, demo is fine, but if we expect them to deliver something in 2 to 3 weeks, it's not going to happen. So we were quite clear about things like that, or just asking them to estimate, say, 5 story points or 8 story point, it was not going to work out. And you know how like we write user stories and acceptance criteria, again, these things are not going to work out in agile, in data science. So that's what I was saying. We picked up only few things and just made them work for us. It is always going to be different than a software delivery.
I don't really have a question anymore. I just have a comment because your story is like kind of very similar to mine. My company also collects data from the like different news sites and such, but it's more about the articles themselves. And then we have a data science team who runs like certain like analytics or enrichments on that data. And a lot of the challenges that you have seen, because they run the processes of Agile, and I think that they try to embody a little bit of like the values as well. But a lot of the challenges are very similar. And I think at least like the biggest win or takeaway for me is that the team, at least now we have a lot of conversations around like, how could we try to make this like, what are the first pieces of delivery we could see in 2 weeks? Even if it's not like a full model, it's like, could we at least get the data trained that will enable us to do it for the next piece? And that has been like I think it changes a little bit because it helps them set like goalposts in their own head, and then they feel like they are getting somewhere. But it's the challenge is like we're also half in London, half in Bangalore. We also have a very strong data director. Like the challenge is it's very eerily similar. So
You work at news?
we work like it's called Meltwater. So we like scrape the whole internet for news, and then we run analytics on the news, and then like
Right.
people use our software to benchmark how their brands and such are doing in the world.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like a very similar field.
All right. No, what you have said is absolutely right, because data scientists are it's like a model or an algorithm is their baby. So they care about it so much that they can go into this detailed investigation for 6 months and not come out of that again. So that's where Agile needs to be brought in, so that we say like, okay, let's have a look at whether it's feasible or not, because sometimes it's not feasible, but they still want to do it and make it work. And the smarter thing to do is just stop doing it if it's not going to work. So Agile helps us take a step back and understand what's going on.